morning. On behalf of the city of Antioch, I'd like to welcome you to the 41st city, State for the City address. At this time, I'd like to invite Chief Stephen Ford to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone, please rise. Face the flag. Put your hands over your heart. Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Ford. At this time, it gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce the 31st Mayor of Antioch, the Honorable Mayor Hernandez-Thorpe. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you everybody for joining us here today, and thank you for those who are joining us live on our social media outlets. And it's so good to see so many familiar faces, and especially those from our city staff. I specifically want to thank our city attorney for being here, Mr. Thomas Lloyd Smith. I'm actually very nervous today. And I'm very nervous because it's no small thing to 150 years after our founding to be standing here as your mayor. And so I don't want to take this lightly. This is an important moment for our city. And so I apologize for my moment of my senioritis there. I also want to thank some of our department heads who are here with us today. Mr. John Samuelson, our Public Works and Engineering Director, thank you for being here with us today. Brad Helfenberger, our Parks and Recreation Director. Nikki Mastay, our Human Resources Director. And of course, our Assistant City Manager, Rosanna Bayon-Moore. And there are others who could not make it here today. But we certainly know that they send their great support. I've lived here for about 10 years, and in those 10 years, I've seen a lot of change. I was here when Councilwoman Monica Wilson was here. When Councilwoman Monica Wilson was elected to the Antioch City Council. And so she was the first African American woman to be elected, and we had such great pleasure.
You're asking me to leave? Mayor, you want me to leave? What did I do? What did I say?
Have a good day, Mr. John.
Okay, this is on record. I'm being asked to leave a public gathering. I've been a citizen for 20 years. I didn't say a word. I walked in. They asked me to leave, okay? I do have an attorney. 3 attorneys, actually. And 2 police officers.
And so the point I was trying to make was that I've seen a lot of change, and I've seen a lot of people come and go. But I've also seen one consistent hand be at the helm here at the city to truly fuel everything that is happening here today. And that's Dawn Merchant, our finance director. So I did not purposely leave her out. I wanted to give her a special recognition. Dawn joined us as an accountant in 1999 with a BA from Sacramento State. She later earned her CPA license from the State Board of Accountancy. Dawn was promoted to Accountant 2 and served in the capacity for a number of years. In 2006, she was named the Assistant Finance Director, followed by the appointment to Director of Finance in 2007. So Dawn has seen us through the good times, has been here through the very, very, very bad times, especially during the 2008 recession, and is still with us today. Every department head that I know and mentioned earlier is either brand new or has been here for a short time. But not Dawn. She has been here, again, as I said, through the good times and the bad times. And so I wanted to specifically thank you, Dawn, for your stewardship of our dollars, for ensuring that the city was fiscally sound when it needed to be. And without you, we certainly would not be here today in a place where we have so much funding in our city, we don't even know what to do with it. So thank you, Don. I want you to stand up, and I want you everybody to give her a round of applause. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our two captains from the Antioch Police Department, Captain Trevor Snitzius and Captain Anthony Moorfield, who served recently as our interim chief. I want to thank them both and the men and women of our law enforcement department for the good work they've been doing in the last few years as we've navigated some rough waters. And so I appreciate all of you for the work that you're doing for our city. So thank you very much, and please offer our men and women in law enforcement a round of applause. So thank you for being here today. I'm Hernandez-Thorpe, and I am the 41st mayor of the city of Antioch. As always, I want to thank the people of Antioch for electing me mayor and for electing me with the highest number of votes in our city's 150-year history. Today, I have the honor of making history with you again as we establish Antioch as a Bay Area leader. Once a sleepy town off the Delta, today we have become one of the fastest growing cities in Northern California and one of the most racially diverse cities here in the San Francisco Bay Area. With that growth, we have also become a better version of ourselves, as throughout our history, the power of diverse communities working together has always been at the heart and soul of what has led to long-term success. For those who are uncomfortable with change, this has never been about forgetting any of you. For those, on the contrary, this has always been about giving others the opportunity to enjoy what you currently enjoy while being able to add their perspectives to the conversation and to change. Like the perspectives of our homeless advocates who have been working tirelessly to ensure we house our brothers and sisters on the streets. Young folks who mobilized during the summer of 2020 against police brutality. Groups like Antioch Save the Yard, who have for years have been fighting for a town square right here in Rivertown for families to enjoy, and whose voices, and the voices of parents who have helped us rethink the idea of children with disabilities, and instead ensuring that all children of all abilities get access to parks, services, and certainly much more. These are a few examples of the voices and perspective that have historically been shut out of City Hall. Let me assure you and others that as long as I am the mayor, and I will be the mayor for the next 3 years, there is a place for you in this chamber. Understanding this, as the chief legislator of our city, I have focused on building an agenda that brings bipartisan cooperation. And for this reason, I'm proud to report that in fact that our state of the city is as strong as it can be. And we've never had so much resolve to get things done as we have today. And for that, I am very, very grateful to my council colleagues, our city clerk, our city treasurer, and to all of our city staff, from the city manager's office to the abatement team currently working on our streets right now, for taking on the challenges of today. Thank you all for your hard work, your dedication, and service to our great city. Like the COVID-19 pandemic, none of these challenges that face our city have fast and easy solutions or fixes. And all of them are going to take a unified, concerted effort for us to truly solve. Over the last year, we've seen that we have it in us to do just that. With our can-do, bipartisan spirit, we passed the largest police reform package in our city's history. What often gets lost in the divisive noise is that all of our police reform measures, every police reform measure in our city, was passed either by unanimous support of our city council or by a 4-1 vote. Only one, and I'll say this again, only one reform had a 3-2 vote. and that was the establishment of an independent oversight commission. As a result, today our city's police force is equipped with body cameras and vehicle cameras. We're in the final stages of building the city's first independent oversight commission, and we've banned the acceptance of any military equipment from the federal government. We've improved our hiring practices to ensure Antioch is not a stop for officers with troubled pasts. And we've established a new training paradigm that focuses on procedural justice, relationship building, relationship-based policing, and appropriate engagement with all segments of our community, including youth, LGBTQ, English language learners, and much more. We have also banned techniques that can cause positional asphyxiation, such as the knee to neck technique famously used on the late George Floyd. Now, I know that a State of the City address is typically an opportunity to rattle off a list of accomplishments and give a sunny account of the year ahead to those who can afford an expensive lunch at the Antioch Chamber of Commerce. But I'm not your typical mayor, and this is not your typical city council, and these are not typical times. I'd love to rehash this year's past many wins on climate, on racial reconciliation, from our being the first city to officially apologize to early Chinese immigrants, to fiscal accountability, public safety, beautification efforts, and more. But the last year and a half have left all of us short of patience and, frankly, happy talk. I listen to residents every single day, and I know that they love our city as I do. But it's also clear they're impatient for solutions to many long-standing and decades-old issues that we've been facing for a long time. In order for Antioch to become a city where economic growth, job creation, business entrepreneurship thrive, we have to get public safety in order. And that starts with focusing on our most vulnerable populations and building a quality police force. For years, all of us on the city council and you, the public, we all watched with pure negligence as the city spent millions of your tax dollars chasing human beings from corner to corner with knowing that there was nowhere for them to go. The never-ending cat and mouse game. We chased people like Louis Rocha, who was killed by a train late last year, and Tyrone Marshall, who died living on a Tri-Delta bus stop at the intersection of Lone Tree Way and Dallas Ranch Road. And regardless of where we chased them off to and what list of county services we had to offer them, we always seem to miss the bigger picture. Regardless of how many programs are out there, the rate of success and inevitability of the rate of success was inevitably low because we couldn't offer our most vulnerable residents temporary stability in the form of housing. Late last night, after 2 years of fighting and championing and pushing people to the finish line, my colleagues on the city council and I ensured that the transitional housing proposal to lease the executive inn with the appropriate wraparound services will become a reality this year. It will become a reality this year. I want to thank my fellow colleagues, council members Monica Wilson and Tamisha Torres Walker, for finally building a dignified place with purpose for our unhoused residents to go. I also want to give special recognition and thanks to our assistant city manager for helping steward this policy along, our unhoused resident coordinator, Jasmine Ridley, and our friends at Focus Strategy for their tireless work on this key issue. In June of this year, we officially embarked on securing a contract with the city's first, and Contra Costa County's first, non-police mobile response team called the Antioch Cares Team. This is the crown jewel of our Phase 1 police reform efforts, created largely because of the advocacy work of Councilwoman Monica Wilson of District 4, and propelled to the forefront after the in-custody death of Angelo Quinto. I'm proud to say that this reform earned unanimous bipartisan support by the entire City Council. Transitional housing, along with our new non-police mental health crisis response team, would dramatically transform our public safety efforts for the good. As a result of these and other new initiatives the city is embarking on, Councilwoman Torres Walker came to me during our budget process with the idea of starting a new department. I'll be honest, I thought, okay, at this point, what will really upset the status quo is by moving things around internally, adding new budgets and line items, adding new staff, and adding a new department head. And we all get comfortable in our ways, so I know this type of change can create anxiety. And as Councilwoman Torres Walker described the new department conceptually to me, all I could think to myself was either she really, truly in her heart believes this, or she really wants me to get recalled. Well, last summer, we embarked on developing a new public safety and community resources department, championed again by Councilwoman Torres Walker. This new department will serve as a one-stop shop for direct city services to residents such as code enforcement, animal services, unhoused resident resources, the Antioch Cares Team, youth development services, and much more. But most importantly, it will work hand in hand with our police department on reducing violent crime with a particular focus on gun violence. This June, we will officially codify the new department in our city's charter. The new department and its services will be the law of Antioch. In May. We're getting this done in May. So a lot of us are pretty excited about this. Why are we doing this? We're undoing the unfair burden on police officers to solve all of our problems. From homelessness to mental health, all of us have redefined police work to mean social work. It's not fair to the women and men in uniform who signed up to prevent and respond to crime in an effort to protect our communities. It is my goal to make the Antioch Police Department, just as it's Captain Moorfield's and our new Chief of Police, a national model for excellence. Despite the current investigation by the District Attorney and the FBI of several members of our police department, I truly believe that we will meet this goal. And I really want to personally thank Captain Anthony Moorfield for his forward-thinking leadership in securing a key relationship with the Department of Justice that helps us examine our internal operations. And that is the National Public Safety Partnership. This partnership, which I am also a part of, is a self-imposed internal examination of the police department, its processes, practices, and data. And it takes big, bold leadership to really take a step back and say, what can we do better? How can we improve what we're doing? And so I want everybody to offer Captain Moorfield a round of applause for his leadership on that. This bold gesture signified to me that the police department is willing to change. With that in mind, in February of this year, I announced the appointment of our new interim chief of police, Dr. Stephen Ford, whose appointment expands our breadth and depth in changing institutional culture. Given our reform efforts and the investigation, I have the utmost confidence Dr. Ford will lead this organization to a stronger, better tomorrow. And I also encourage my colleagues on the City Council to quickly and expeditiously pass the incentive program to work as hard as we can to ensure that we're hiring new police officers for the future. We need those incentive programs to pass. We need those incentive programs to pass today. I urge my colleagues to do so in the coming weeks as we lead into the June months. And yet, there is still a lot more work to do. Although Antioch has continued to experience drops in other types of crime, gun violence is pushing our crime rate higher. Last year alone, more than 500 illegal weapons were seized by the Antioch Police Department on our streets. This trend has been exacerbated by the increase in cross-community violence stemming from cities like San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Sacramento, and Stockton. Regardless of what is happening around us, this is unacceptable for our city. Now that we're eliminating certain responsibilities for the police department, let me make myself perfectly clear to those who have come to Antioch to wreak havoc with gun violence. If you come to Antioch thinking that this is the Wild West, you will be found, you will be prosecuted, and you will be sent to prison. With that, I'm asking, no more can we accept that a pastor and his children have to run for their lives fleeing gunfire. No more can we accept that the most gun-related homicides in Antioch involve people who don't even live here. In the following budget process, which starts soon, I will be requesting funding to support the ShotSpotter gunshot detection system citywide. That being said, this approach cannot be the only approach that we use towards trying to stem gun violence, and it won't be. I want to thank Interim City Manager Cornelius Johnson for his leadership in submitting the California Violence Intervention and Prevention grant application requesting more than $1.7 million in funding. This funding will support our violence interruption efforts and build the critical infrastructure needed for the new Public Safety and Community Resources Department. We have recently learned that our application has moved to the next level, and so let's all cross our fingers and make sure that at that final level, our application is accepted and that we do in fact receive the funds to help curb gun violence in the city of Antioch. While it takes everyone's support to drive down violent crime, I absolutely know that with the support of our police department, the support of our new public safety office, and the support of all of our residents, we can make that happen. Last year, I declared Antioch a no sideshow zone. Since that major declaration, and thanks to the outstanding work of our Antioch Police Traffic Unit under the leadership of Lieutenant Joseph Don Levy, Antioch has had 0 large-scale sideshows since then. The closest we've come was 2 large gatherings that were quickly cleared out thanks to the proactive work of our traffic enforcement team and our allied agencies. This is what happens when we put our minds together to solve problems and collaborate in a bipartisan fashion. We're also not finished with the great experiment that is the Sycamore Corridor. But after decades of neglect, we're moving in the right direction. In August of this year, we will be accepting applications for the long-awaited Mayor's Apprenticeship Program, which promises city employment opportunities for those involved in illicit activities or other things at places like Sycamore Square who want to turn their lives around. And let me be clear to other strip malls throughout the city of Antioch, like Bonfair Market of 10th Street, the businesses off 18th and Caballo, and those off of Delta Fair corridor. When we're finished in Antioch, you're next. When we're finished on the Sycamore corridor, you're next. We're coming to ensure that we get your businesses up to its standard that is acceptable to all of the people of Antioch. Standing by hoping things get better is not an acceptable public policy. Antioch residents deserve a city that is free of trash, free of litter, and open and welcoming to everybody. That is why we doubled the size of code enforcement, increased our landscaping beautification efforts and maintenance. Most recently, we decided to increase the frequency of our street sweeping program from 1 to 2 times a month and weekly on major thoroughfares intersecting with Highway 4. In addition, we'll be installing street sweeping signs that prohibit parking on street sweeping days, and this will ensure that we have a better quality sweep and, of course, that we're better able to identify inoperable or abandoned vehicles throughout our city. As we embrace diversity in the city of Antioch today, children of all abilities will have a place to call home, thanks to our investments we're making in parks, playground structures, and new recreational programming that are accessible to all Antioch kids. And it's not something that I'm saying, it's something that this city council codified in the law of the land of Antioch to ensure that every new program in Parks and Recreation, isn't that right, Brad? Be geared to ensuring all children of all abilities have access to that program. I'm also excited that we're moving in a direction that supports the creation of a new town square at the old Beatty Lumber Yard at 2nd and 3rd Streets, and a new Veterans Park walkway off of L Street between 4th and 7th Streets. In addition, we're restoring the Hard House for use for City Council and the community. For those who may not be familiar with the Hard House, this is Antioch's first mayor's home. And it was the place where 150 years ago, the Antioch City Council had their very first meeting. And so it's history that is sitting there wasting away as we've neglected it for a number of years. So as we work to restore that building, the Antioch mayor's first house, Roswell Butler Hard, we're proud of what that will symbolize for our city moving forward. While we were and still are an imperfect I'm sorry, I lost myself here. I was talking about 150 years ago in 1872, when we were founded as a community and the Hard House represented our founding. It was only about 96 years before that our nation was founded in 1776. And while we were an imperfect nation, enshrined at the heart of our nation's founding was the rule of law, which ensures that all persons, all institutions, entities are accountable to laws that are promulgated by the collective power of people, all of you, not one individual. As Americans, more often than not, we take this basic fundamental truth for granted. And yet, the rule of law serves as a critical safeguard that ensures checks and balances. This is what has prevented, in my opinion, some of the most egregious ideas from taking shape during the last presidency, including the idea of bombing Mexico and the attempt to undo the 2020 presidential election, which led to the January 6th insurrection of the U.S. Capitol. As we move forward, there will be noisemakers. There will be a lot of noisemakers, just as there are today, on social media platforms, on blogs, heck, even on Nextdoor, working to undermine the very notion of who we are as Americans. But our local process works. Most of the decisions that we have made here in this chamber have been, about 95% of the time, have been made unanimously by all members of our city council. They very seldom do we see votes that are 4-1 or 3-2. And I share this because I think it's important that as we maneuver through all of the noise, that you understand that your government is working for you, is absolutely working for you. And I see people in this audience who for a long time have felt shut out of City Hall. This is your City Hall. This isn't a special group City Hall. And so I share that because I think it's so important that everybody understand the fundamental basis of who we are as a community and who we are as a nation. For 8 years, I put my Navy uniform on. For 8 years, I put my Navy uniform on with pride and absolute excitement because I was well aware what my uniform represented for our country and for its people. And on January 3rd of 2000, I swore an oath to protect and, if needed, give my life to protect the country I so love, and to protect the ideals that are enshrined in our Constitution. Because this is the country I've ever known, and this is the country I've ever loved, the United States of America. And so with that, I want to close by thanking everybody for joining us here today. I would be a hypocrite if I did not say that Antioch is a place of inclusion. And so now you have to sit through me saying this in Spanish. Gracias a todos por estar aquí hoy con nosotros. Soy Hernandez-Thorpe, el alcalde de la ciudad de Antioch. Como siempre, quiero agradecer al pueblo de la ciudad de Antioch por elegirme su alcalde con el mayor número de votos en la historia de nuestra ciudad. Hoy tengo el honor de hacer historia con ustedes otra vez, ya que establecemos la ciudad de Antioch como un líder en la área de la bahía. Una vez una ciudad tranquila cerca de la delta, hoy nos hemos convertido en una de las ciudades más rápido de crecimiento en el norte de California y una de las más racialmente diversas en el área de la bahía de San Francisco. Con ese crecimiento, también nos hemos convertido en una mejor versión de nosotros mismos, ya que a lo largo de la historia, el poder de las diversas comunidades que trabajan juntas siempre han sido el corazón y el alma que nos ha llevado al éxito a largo plazo. Para aquellos que se sienten incómodos con los cambios que están pasando aquí en nuestra comunidad, nunca se ha tratado de olvidarlos a ustedes. Por contrario, siempre se ha tratado de dar a todos la oportunidad de disfrutar a lo que disfrutan actualmente y al mismo tiempo poder construir sobre ellos con nuevas perspectivas. Al igual que las perspectivas de nuestros defensores locales de personas sin hogar o jóvenes que se movilizaron durante el verano del 2020 contra la brutalidad policial de grupos como Save the Yard, que durante años han estado luchando por una plaza en el Rivertown para que todas las familias de Antioch disfruten. Las voces de los padres que nos ayudaron a respaldar la idea de niños con discapacidades para garantizar que todos los niños de todas las capacidades tengan acceso a nuestros parques, servicios y ciertamente mucho más. Estos son ejemplos de las voces y perspectivas que históricamente han sido excluidas de nuestro edificio municipal aquí. Permítame asegurarles que mientras yo sea el alcalde de la ciudad de Antioch, la voz de ustedes estará aquí en nuestra Cámara de Representantes. Entiendo como principal legislador de nuestra ciudad, me he centrado en construir una agenda de cooperación. Y por esa razón me gustaría informar que el estado de nuestra ciudad está fuerte. Y nunca hemos tenido tanta determinación para hacer las cosas como los tenemos hoy. Y por eso estoy muy, muy orgulloso con mis colegas del consejo, nuestra secretaria municipal, nuestra tesorera municipal y todo el personaje de la ciudad, desde la oficina del administrador al equipo de limpieza que están trabajando las calles ahorita, por asumir los desafíos de hoy. Gracias a todos por su trabajo, dedicación y servicio a nuestra ciudad. Al igual que la pandemia del COVID-19, ninguno de los desafíos que enfrentaría nuestra ciudad tiene soluciones rápidas y fáciles. Y todos ellos se necesita un esfuerzo unificado y concentrado para que podamos resolvernos realmente. Durante el último año hemos visto que tenemos en nuestros para hacer precisamente eso. Con nuestro espíritu de cooperación de poder hacer, aprobamos el paquete de reforma más grande en la historia de la ciudad. Lo que se pierde en el ruido, que todas nuestras medidas de reforma policial fueron aprobadas por la mayoría del apoyo del Concilio Municipal y los demás por un voto de 4-1. Sola una reforma fue aprobada por un voto de 3-2, y ese es el desarrollo de una junta de supervisión policial independiente. Como resultado, hoy la fuerza policial de nuestra ciudad está equipada con cámaras corporales y para sus vehículos. Estamos en las etapas finales de la creación de la primera comisión de supervisión independiente de la ciudad. Hemos prohibido la aceptación de equipo militar del gobierno federal. Hemos mejorado nuestras prácticas de contratación y hemos establecido un nuevo paradigma de capacitación centrado en la justicia procesal y la vigilación basada en las relaciones y el compromiso adecuado con todos los segmentos de nuestra comunidad. Ahora, el discurso sobre el estado de la ciudad muchas veces es una oportunidad para recitar una de las listas de los logros y dar información de lo que hemos hecho. Pero aquí no soy un alcalde típico, no somos un concilio municipal típico, y esos no son tiempos típicos. Me encantaría discutir esas cosas y esas victorias del año pasado sobre el clima, la reconciliación racial, la responsabilidad fiscal, la seguridad pública, los esfuerzos del envasimiento y más. Pero el último año y medio nos ha dejado todos cortos con la paciencia para hablar de estas cosas. Escucho las voces de los residentes de Aniak y se han quedado aún impacientes por encontrar soluciones y los muchos problemas que hacen de hace décadas que no se han enfrentado. Para que Aniak se convierta en una ciudad donde prospere el crecimiento de la economía y los trabajos, debemos de poner en orden la seguridad pública, y eso comienza centrándolos en nuestras poblaciones más, con nuestros miembros de nuestra comunidad que necesitan más ayuda, como nuestros sin hogar, nuestra juventud. Durante los años, todos nosotros en el Consejo Municipal y ustedes del pueblo observamos cómo la ciudad gastaba millones de dólares de sus impuestos persiguiendo y siguiendo a los seres humanos de cuadra a cuadra sin tener a dónde mandarlos para hogar. Perseguimos a esas personas como Louis Rocha, quien murió atropellado por un tren al fines de las Reyes aquí, y Tyrone Marshall, que murió viviendo en una parada de autobús de Tri-Delta en la intersección de Lone Tree Way y Dallas Ranch. Y sin importar a dónde los persiguíamos y la lista de servicios del condado, no tuvimos que ofrecerles y un hogar. Independientemente de estos cuentos, programas existen La tasa del éxito tiene que ser y ofrecida, pero estos residentes necesitan la oportunidad de establecerse en un hogar temporalmente. Anoche, después de casi 2 años, mis colegas del Consejo Municipal y yo los aseguramos que la propuesta de vivienda transitoria de la Antioch para arrendar el Executive Inn con los servicios integrales se ha sido realidad. Quiero agregarse a mis compañeros, colegas del Consejo Municipal, Mónica Wilson y Tamisha Torres Walker, por finalmente construir un lugar digno con propósito para que puedan ir nuestros residentes sin hogar. También quiero dar un reconocimiento especial a nuestra administradora de la ciudad, Rosanna Bayamore, a nuestra coordinadora de residentes sin vivienda, Jasmine Ridley, y nuestros amigos de Focus Strategies por su trabajo incansable en estar atente a este programa. En junio de este año los emplazaremos oficialmente en la obtención de un contrato para lanzar el primer equipo de respuesta móvil no policial de nuestra ciudad y el primero del condado, que se llamará Antioch Cares Team. Esta es una de las joyas de la corona de nuestros esfuerzos de la reforma policial de la fase 1, creada en gran parte por la defensa de la concejal Mónica Wilson del Distrito 4 estoy muy orgulloso que esta reforma recibió el apoyo de todos los miembros del Consejo Municipal. La vivienda de transición, junto con nuestro equipo de respuesta de crisis de salud mental y no policial, transformará drásticamente nuestros esfuerzos de seguridad policial para el bueno. Como resultado de estas y otras nuevas iniciativas, las que están embarcados en la ciudad, la concejal Tamisha Torres Walker ha avanzado con la ayuda y la asistencia de la consejera Mónica Wilson y yo a un nuevo departamento oficialmente en los estados de nuestra ciudad. El nuevo departamento y sus servicios serán la ley de Antioch, y vamos a hacer eso oficialmente en junio. Estamos haciendo estos establecimientos la carga de injusta impuesta a los oficiales de la policía para resolver todos nuestros problemas, desde la falta de vivienda hasta la salud mental. Todos los hemos redirigido al trabajo policial para signifique trabajo social. No es justo para nuestras mujeres y hombres uniformados que se inscriban para prevenir y responder al crimen en un esfuerzo por proteger nuestras comunidades. Mi meta es hacer un departamento de policía un modelo nacional de excelencia. A pasar de la investigación por el Departamento Fiscal del Distrito y el FBI de varios miembros del Departamento de Policía, realmente creo que logramos este objeto. Quiero agradecerle personalmente al capitán Anthony Morfield del Departamento de Policía por su liderazgo con visión del futuro para asegurar una relación clave con el Departamento de Justicia para examinar nuestras operaciones internas, de decir, con la Asociación Nacional de Seguridad Pública. Esta asociación, de la que también formo parte, es un examen interno del Departamento de Policía, sus procesos, prácticas y datos. Este fue un gusto que significó para mí un compromiso del cambio por parte de nuestro Departamento de Policía. Con eso en mente, en febrero de este año anuncié el nombratorio de un nuevo jefe de policía, el Dr. Stephen Ford, que viene con nosotros de la ciudad de San Francisco. Profundamente para que se profundamente enfoque en el cambio de la cultura del Departamento de Policía. Dados nuestros esfuerzos de reforma y la investigación, dados nuestros esfuerzos y la reforma de investigación, tengo la máxima confianza en que el Dr. Ford que los va a traer hacia un mañana mejor y fuerte. Y sin embargo, todavía hay más trabajo que hacer. Aunque Antioch ha seguido experimentando caídas en otros tipos de delitos, la violencia armada está elevando nuestra tasa de delincuencia. Solo el año pasado, el Departamento de Policía confiscó más de 500 armas ilegales en nuestras calles. Esta tendencia se ha visto exagerada por un aumento de la violencia entre comunidades proveniente de ciudades como de San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Sacramento y Stockton. Independientemente de lo que sucede a nuestro alrededor, no podemos aceptar esto en nuestra comunidad. Ahora que estamos eliminando ciertas responsabilidades del Departamento de Policía, permitiré ser perfectamente claro para ellos que vienen a la ciudad de Antioch para causar violencia armada. Si vienen a Antioch pensando que esto es el salvaje oeste, es lo contrario. Serías procedado y serías enviado a la prisión si vienen aquí a causar problemas con las armas ilegales. No más podemos aceptar esto en nuestra comunidad. Ya no podemos aceptar que un pastor y sus hijos tengan que correr para salvar a sus vidas por un tiroteo. Ya no podemos aceptar que la mayoría de las muertes con armas ilegales en la ciudad de Antioch sean involucradas con personas que ni siquiera viven aquí en nuestra comunidad. El segundo proceso, que comienza pronto, solicitaré fondos para apoyar la sistema de detección de disparos y disparos en toda la ciudad de Antioch. Dicho este enfoque no puede ser el único enfoque, y no lo será. Quiero agradecer al administrador de la ciudad, Con Johnson, por su liderazgo en presentar una solicitud de subversión para la intervención y prevención de la violencia de California, solicitando casi $2 millones en fondos. Estos fondos apoyarán nuestros esfuerzos de interrupción de la violencia armada y la construcción de la infraestructura crítica necesaria para el nuevo Departamento de Seguridad Pública y Recursos Comunitarios. Recientemente hemos sabido que nuestra aplicación ha pasado al segundo nivel de la aplicación. Si bien se necesitaría el apoyo de todos, se necesitará el apoyo de todos para reducir los delitos violentos en nuestra comunidad. Pero tengo fe en el Departamento de Policía, tengo fe en este nuevo departamento y tengo fe en la comunidad de la ciudad de Antioch, que juntos podemos resolver estos problemas. El año pasado declaré que Antioch era una zona sin espectáculos secundarios. Desde aquella importante declaración y gracias al trabajo de nuestra policía, con el liderazgo de el lieutenant Joseph Dunleavy, Antioch ha tenido 0 espectáculos de gran escala, y lo más cerca que estuvimos fueron 2 gran reuniones que inmediatamente fueron paradas. Esto es lo que sucede cuando unimos nuestras mentes para resolver problemas de manera colaborativa. Tampoco hemos terminado con el gran experimento que es el Sycamore Corridor. Pero después de décadas de abandono, nos estamos moviendo en la dirección correcta. En agosto de este año, estaremos aceptando aplicaciones para el programa el Mayor's Apprenticeship Program, que promete oportunidades a los jóvenes que están involucrados en actividades ilícitas allí en el Sycamore Corridor y otras partes de nuestra comunidad. Y déjame serlo claro para los negocios como Bonfire, los negocios que están en la intersección de la 18 y el Caballo, y aquellos que están por la Delta Fair. Ustedes siguen. Y no vamos a parar hasta que establecimos una comunidad que todos estén orgullosos. Quedándonos esperando que cosas se mejoran solas no es una aceptable póliza pública. Los residentes de Antioch merecen una ciudad libre de basura, libre de desperdicios, abierta y acogida para todos. Es por eso que la aplicación de código, es por eso que doblamos la aplicación o las posiciones del departamento de código y aumentamos nuestros servicios de mantenimiento y de jardines. Más recientemente decidimos aumentar la frecuencia de los servicios del barrio de calles de 1 a 2 veces al mes, y también para enfocarnos en las calles principales de Antioch. Esto nos ayudará con el mejorar la calidad de nuestras calles y permitir que la ciudad pueda identificar los carros abandonados que están en nuestra ciudad. A medida que adoptamos la diversidad de Antioch de hoy, los niños de todas las capacidades tendrán un lugar al que llamar hogar, gracias a las inversiones que estamos haciendo en parques, estructuras de juego y nuevos programas en nuestro departamento de recreation, que son accesibles para todos los niños de la ciudad de Antioch. También estamos orgullosos que estamos invirtiendo en haciendo una plaza del pueblo en el Beatty Lumberyard, y también un parque de paseo para los veteranos, para representar a los veteranos de nuestra comunidad. Además, estamos reconstruyendo la casa del primer alcalde de la ciudad de Antioch, que se llama Roswell Butler Hart, y donde la primera junta de Antioch se formó ya hace 150 años, en el año 1871. Y casi 100 años antes o después de la fundación de nuestra nación, Si bien somos una nación imperfecta, consagrado en el corazón de la fundación de nuestra nación, está el Estado del Derecho que garantiza que todas las personas, instituciones y entidades sean responsables de las leyes que son promulgados por el poder colecto de nuestro pueblo y no una persona. Como estadounidenses, la mayoría de las veces damos por sentada esta verdad fundamental básica. Y sin embargo, el Estado de Derecho sirve como un derecho fundamental que garantiza controles y balancia. Esto es lo que impido que tomarán forma algunas de las ideas más atrozes durante la presidencia del último presidente, incluyendo la idea de bombardear a México y el intento de deshacer las elecciones presidenciales del 2020 que llevó a la insurrección del capital en enero 6 del 2021. A medida que avanzamos, habrá ruidos de las plataformas, habrá ruidos en las plataformas de las redes sociales, los blogs como Nextdoor, que trabajarán para sofocar esta misma nación de quienes somos todos americanos. Pero nuestro proceso local funciona. La mayoría de las decisiones que se toman en esta Cámara de Representantes, 95% del tiempo, son decisiones que pasan con todos los miembros del Consejo Municipal. Muy raramente son votos de 4-1 o 3-2. Durante mis 8 años como miembro de las Fuerzas Armadas de los Estados Unidos, orgullosamente me puse mi uniforme para representar este país. El 3 de enero de 2020, solo hice un juramento para proteger y, si necesario, dar mi vida para defender la Constitución de nuestra nación y lo que representa para todos nosotros. Y con ese entendimiento, soy el alcalde de la ciudad de Aniak. Y con ese entendimiento, hago las decisiones que son las mejores para la mayoría de la gente de nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, everybody, for indulging us here today.
Thank you for coming out, and adios.